So the pasuk says, "Hine enochi shelech lechem es Eliyahu hanavi, lifnei bo yoim Hashem hagodel v'hanoira, v'heshiv levov es albonim v'albonim al avoisam." And so there's this Yom Adin, big Yom Adin, that has been spoken about for a very long time. What is this Yom Adin? So the Nevi'im, they understood the language of life. Life has a language. When we speak from the imagination, we speak from the understandings that have been delivered to us in this lifetime. And so the words that we say are based on a specific language of where we were born, where we grew up, how life was explained to us. And in that language, we interact. And each one of us actually has a language of their own. Even if two people are supposedly speaking the same language, if two people are speaking English, if we would sit them down in a room and we would ask them to write us a dictionary of their understanding of English, then no two people would have the same dictionary, obviously. They would express descriptions of words differently. They would have different words missing. They would have different words that are off, that are not exactly identified correctly. They would have even words that are identified exactly, but they just look at it from a different perspective. They see different things as good and different things as bad, etc., etc. And so each person really has an individual language. And also within nations, there isn't a specific language that covers a nation. The language is fluid. In certain areas of the nation, they speak it one way. In the south, they speak English one way, and in the north, they'll speak English another way, and in the east, they'll speak another way. This is the nature of language. And so Hashem, he speaks the ultimate language. The ultimate language is the language of nature. And through this language of nature, the Nevi'im would understand what is taking place, and they would understand what is going to take place. Because, as we've mentioned many times, humanity, through their thoughts and desires, are running the entire universe. And so a human thought, a human desire is extremely meaningful. And even though we don't understand where we are in the world of thought and what the results are going to be of our thoughts and how they're going to impact reality, they most certainly impact reality, and they most certainly are going to have far-reaching consequences that are going to affect all the different facets of our life. And so these Nevi'im knew that given that humanity is distancing itself from its nature, it's forgetting its nature, it's being removed from the truth, one day there's going to be a day of reckoning. One day, humanity is going to have to rediscover the truth. There's no two ways about it. Humanity will not remain eternally disconnected from reality. At some point, humanity is going to be intelligent enough to realize the fraud that has been perpetuated upon it, and it's going to wake up to the truth, whatever that means. And so this is something that's inherent in even all the religions that copy Judaism. They have an event or a person or a point in time where things will be set straight, where things will be understood for what they really are, where the mask is going to be removed from reality. And that removal of the mask is called the Yom Hadin, the Day of Reckoning. It's a day of reckoning, not because somebody is going to be upset at the people. It's a day of reckoning because the people are going to be upset at themselves. The people are going to realize a reality, and to the extent that they didn't live in accordance with that reality, they're going to find it upsetting. They're going to find that their effort, their energy, the way that they spent it, was not productive. It didn't give them what they were looking to get. And so that's the Yom Hadin. And Eliyahu Novi says, Eliyahu Novi is going to come first, right? And I'm sending you Eliyahu Novi before the big day of reckoning. Because Eliyahu Novi is the Malach Abris. He represents the truth. He represents understanding what is the covenant between the Creator and creation. What is this relationship? Right? The bris, the covenant, was a form of relationship. What is the nature of this relationship? And when we will discover the nature of this relationship, that will bring upon us a day of reckoning, a day where we reconcile with reality and we see, how did we score? How did we do? If this is reality, because Eliyahu Novi says it is, how did our behavior, how did our interaction with life score on this ultimate scale of truth, on this ultimate scale of what did the Creator really have in mind? What did he really intend for creation? And so it's going to be an extremely meaningful day. It's going to be an extremely meaningful period, because humanity has been running from the truth for thousands of years. And people have been making the truth up as they go. People have been telling other people what to do, even though they themselves didn't know exactly what the hell is happening. And so all these things are going to stop. All these things are going to change, because the world is going to come to realization that it erred, that it was wrong, that it didn't really understand humanity and its purpose. It didn't really understand what's best for us as a species. And so once this comes, once this day of reckoning comes, the next step is V'heshiv lev avos al banim v'lev banim al avoisam. The family unit will be reunited, because the true recognition of reality is the recognition of the importance of the soul, of the importance of the spiritual, of the importance of the internal. And we share that with our family members. A father's soul, his father's spirit, gets incarnated into a body, and then he has a son, and then he has a daughter. And so the family unit, the ties that we have to our family members, is a very deep one in nature. And given what has been happening with the way that we've been living, given what's been happening with the way the economy looks after the Industrial Revolution and all the other revolutions that turned us into slaves, we have had no time to be with the most important people in our lives. We've had no time to recognize their importance. We had no time to serve them the type of emotions that they deserve to receive from us. The warmth, the kindness, the love, the recognition, the safety. And so when the truth becomes evident, when the reality becomes what people can understand, what the imagination can digest, then people will remove themselves from all the other burdens that they've allowed to suppress their spirit, and they're going to come back to being with the truth, being with the people, being with the spiritual side of life, being with the soul, celebrating souls. Life is a celebration of souls. It's a celebration of spirits. It's a celebration of a conceptual being, a being that can interact with concept as it's manifested into the physical, as it interacts with the physical. And so that celebration is a celebration of life. That celebration is a celebration of the permanence of the human soul and the lack of permanence of all the other things that we've surrounded ourselves with. And I think this time makes it very evident how unpermanent these things are, how unreal they are, how unreliable they are. And so this is an opportunity for us to prepare. What is to come? Who knows what is to come? But certainly the truth is coming. The truth has always been coming, and it's not going to stop coming until it's here. And so the more we are ready for the truth, the more we'll live life in accordance with the truth. And the earlier we start, the more time we have to live the truth before the truth becomes evident to all, the more advanced our vessels will be to receive the light when it becomes available. So we should all be zoche to tap into that truth now. And we can be from the people who will assist in bringing upon us the final redemption, the Meri B'Yaminu.
Amen.
Now questions, if anybody has.
Daniel Fried has raised his hand.
Oh, go, Daniel.
Hi. Thank you, Yakov.
Sure.
Just the question on the last thing you said about if we learn the truth now, we'll have the vessels to receive it later. I understood like truth as being the light that comes in, and like I thought our midos, like our improved character traits, were like the vessels.
Correct.
Receive the light, but it seems like from what you were saying that bringing in the truth now is the vessel. So
bringing in the truth now is the light, but the earlier we receive the light itself is mizakech the vessels, gives the ability for the midos to become more pure, because light is energy, light is force. And so the more light we have, the more easily we can convert our vessels to become more pure and more elevated. So if one was to receive it now, it would give him a head start on preparing himself, because he would know how to prepare, and the light would help him prepare. And so this is always the goal, like we say, ner mitzvah v'torah ar, the light of the Torah goes into the candle, which is the mitzvah, and that purifies us, that purifies our body and our mind to be able to receive more light, to be able to receive more, to merge into the unity and still contain some level of identity, so we don't completely disappear. And so the more we know of the truth, the more power we have to transform our attributes, to transform our emotions.
do we need to be worried that if we bring in too much like spirituality and light, if we haven't improved our character traits enough, it could break us?
I think the way that I understand from the Baal Shem Tov and others is that in this time we don't have to be concerned with that any longer. That was a concern that was earlier in time, when people were different and they took things in a different way. But today we should just try to grab as much light as we can, because without it we're definitely going to drown. So there's no other choice other than to take as much light as we can, and hopefully that light is what's going to save us. Daniel G.
Thank you very much for that beautiful share and meditation. Put my wife to sleep, so that's huge brownie point for you. Thank you. Okay, I mean, it is good.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Anybody else? What do you define as light? Okay, somebody asked. What do we define as light? So light is life. Life force is light. So for example, when a person is young, when a child is just growing up, so they have a lot of life. They're filled with a desire to manifest, a desire to create. And usually as they get older, as they get more acquainted with life and what's going on over here on this planet, so they sometimes find it more and more difficult to function. And that's because they lose access to the light as they become disappointed with life, as they become upset, as they become disillusioned, so to speak. And so when we're talking about increasing light, it means that a person could somehow find concept, could find understanding, could explain to his imagination that life is worth living. And when that becomes an experience, that's considered light, that's considered intelligence, because we already are living life. We're already here. The only right thing to do is to make the best of it. And so the closer we are to that perspective, the closer we are to the light, the closer we are to helping, the closer we are to creating good. And the more we fall into disappointment, anger, distance from life, then we're going into the darkness. We're going into a place in the imagination that has no intelligence, that's no longer working for any specific goal. It's something that's disconnected from reality. So that would be a place of darkness. And we can all feel like if we look at people's moods, we can see light and dark. If we look at people awake or asleep, we can call that light or dark. When they're awake, they're alive, they're active, there's light, there's life over there. And when they're asleep, it's just blank, there's nobody there. And that's sort of the darkness to the light. So all these are relatively speaking, one is light and one is dark. But ultimately, anything that helps life, anything that's kind, anything that's pleasurable and it's bringing calm to the human experience is a form of light, is helping humanity experience life, and it's enhancing life. And all the things that take that away, all the things that drive us towards ignorance and drive us towards distance, those things are separating us from the light. They create a shadow where the light is not so visible.